The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Go to the church, though.
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, recorder. Do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hello and welcome to the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Today is the 19th day of May. The year is 2025. A lot of stories are going on in the country. As we're speaking right now, the UPDF Amendment Bill shall be tabled tomorrow for the second hearing in Parliament. Now, this bill seeks to re-establish the General Court Martial, but in a legally binding manner. And some legislators have already raised concerns over this particular bill, claiming that it is going to be charging civilians once again in the General Court Martial, something that was outlawed by the Supreme Court of the land. We'll be looking at what that means. And of course, there is also a political parties amendment bill also that is going to be tabled. This one seeks to, bring about clarity in funding of political parties and also establishing the IPOD as a legal entity or a forum that alternative or all political parties can come and really unite and deliberate on some of the issues happening here in Uganda. We shall be touching base on that, and also the People's Front for Freedom, PFF, was finally gazetted by the Electoral Commission of Uganda. Now, this comes at a time when we are gearing up for the 2026 general elections, and many people are looking at the PFF as an alternative political party, especially in changing government, but also in taking power eventually. How best has this political party prepared? And of course, what should Ugandans expect from a new political party? Is it what Ugandans want, or it's politics as usual? When we get some time, we shall also be highlighting on some of the current news stories that are happening right here in Uganda. So what you have to do is send us a message, question, query on our social media platforms. That is at The Alternative Uganda, but also at Digitalk TV. That is on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. We are on all those particular platforms. This evening, I'm privileged to be joined by Mr. Charles Kazooba. He is a panelist here, but he is also the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. You're most welcome, sir. It's a privilege to have you.
Thank you so much.
Great. I also have Mr. Joseph Ochieno. He is the acting president of the Uganda People's Congress. I would say one of the factions therein, because Honorable Jimmy Akena also claims to be the president of the UPC. But today, I have him. He's always a panelist right here on the Hotline Show, and it's always a privilege having you, sir.
Thanks for having me. Acting is interesting, but let's proceed.
Okay. Later on, we shall be joined by Honorable Pollar Awich. who is the Director, External Affairs at the National Resistance Movement. I'll start with you, Charles. As you give us your opening remarks, how was your week as an individual? But also, I want you to maybe comment on the purported disappearance of Charles Twine. Today, Mr. Rusoke, who is the spokesperson of Uganda Police, said he does not have him. Yesterday, Sam Omara, who is the spokesperson SFC, said they don't have him. But last we heard from the family is that Mr. Twine had left on Tuesday night from Barara to come for an early morning appointment with the Inspector General of Police at 7 a.m. And as we speak right now, the car belonging to Mr. Twine is still parked at Naguru headquarters. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Karuhanga, and my colleague here. I've been seeing him interviewed severally, but he keeps a modest response about UPC. You should fight and take it. Why do you fear Kenya?
I do not fear Kenya. I don't fear anybody. If I cannot fear Museveni, why would I fear anybody else?
This country
no,
is
the only
not
thing is
for-
that I don't like the bush.
This country is not for cowards. You should take the thing from him.
I'm delighted to have you as
May I
an
help
added
you?
number I can count.
As a foot soldier in the struggle for UPC.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is true that Twine has kind of disappeared. Disappeared in quotes, because I don't believe that there is anybody that has arrested him or is hiding him.
Why do you say that, sir?
Because Twine works for insiders in the system. So, if you're working for insiders at personal level, why would the system be hunting for you? It is not true. Probably he has made mistakes and he decided to hide himself. But otherwise, I really doubt it. It's a gimmick. It's a katemba. What I've heard from some people is that Twine intends to contest for parliament. So 1 + 1, when you add the 1 + 1, for us at the edges of politics, who keep observing things, it is probably to gain popularity and sympathy. But otherwise, I don't think there is anything serious that he could have done, and that the people within the system have detained him or arrested him. I don't think so. I highly doubt.
Okay.
Otherwise, my week has been busy. I'm left with about 2 weeks for the civil military symposium that my organization has organized.
For those who are just hearing that for the very first time, what is the Civil Military Symposium?
We are organizing this event because of the deafening fear within the population that this country might burn. You hear so many political actors and members from security forces talking of radicalization, extremism. So there is a growing gap between civilians and members of the armed forces. Latest incidents being the Kawempe by-election that culminated into violence, but also the UPDF amendment bill, which seems to be tearing the country apart. So this symposium is supposed to bring civilians and members of the armed forces together to discuss as normal human beings who belong to this country and want the best for this country, so that we find solutions. Because one thing I've observed and understood in my interaction with people from both sides, you realize that the orientations are different. Members of the armed forces are oriented differently, and the civilians are also oriented differently. For instance, a soldier would be offended if he came to arrest you and you ask him questions. To them, there's no way you should be asking. They see it as a straightforward thing.
Okay.
But to a civilian wants to know why he's being taken and who is arresting him and to where. So the questions are many. But yet the soldier does not want to hear those kind of things.
Okay.
And all of them are just like that. So we need to come up with
Lastly, as I bring in Mr. Ochieno, I was at the pre-poll event, pre-voting event in Kawempe prior to that election. And Byabakama was with most of the commanders, if not all the security commanders that were responsible for that election and Kampala generally. And he told them, please do not beat people. Please let us first call you. Right? Fast forward on the voting day, these people are beating, they are vandalizing, they are beating also journalists, vandalizing properties and election material. So my question to you is, how different is your symposium going to be?
let me give you one.
What is it going to achieve that other meetings haven't?
Let me give you 2 examples. Of course, it is not me who is supposed to generate the policy proposals in that meeting. I'm only bringing the 2 parties together. But let me give you 2 things. For instance, do you know that there is a civil military relations department within the military, within UPDF? It does exist, but it is a small office which is underfunded. Now, that is supposed to put a bridge between the military and the civilians so that they work together. So it means it's not doing enough work.
Okay.
2, during election time, these orders, how come we do not have a body or a committee that kind of supervises the entire process? A committee which has representatives from Electoral Commission, from the armed forces, and other stakeholders. So that, for instance, if you claim that there is intelligence pointing to a certain threat in a particular constituency or place, then that information should be shared with the committee supervising the whole process, so that the Electoral Commission benefits from that information, so that when they are addressing the people or conducting the activities, they have information that the public might not have.
Okay.
Religious people should also be part of this, so that it stops being a security issue alone, that it is restricted to security personnel.
Okay.
Yes, it could be true, maybe somebody was trying to plant bombs in Kawempe, but was Electoral Commission officials informed?
Okay.
So there are some small things which can be done, and they create harmony for everybody to live peacefully and for this country to remain stable.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll be there as Digitalk TV
Yes.
to find out how you'll be doing that. Mr. Joseph Ochieno, you're most welcome, sir. In your opening remarks, he has a very good idea in terms of uniting the military and the populace. How effective do you find his idea of this civil-military symposium? But also, your comment on the purported abduction of Mr. Charles Twine, the former spokesperson of CID.
I think I wish I wish the symposium well, and I hope it achieves its objects, and if its objects are as defined. Except that as Charles gives more detail, it almost contradicts Charles's argument on point number one. I don't know Mr. Twine. I know one or two people who do know him, and at least one person told me that he was a fine guy as a friend. But those are friends in social spaces, not in official capacities, but of course, beyond the headlines, nothing else. Number two is, I don't know whether Mr. Twine is a trained police officer or a trained security operative. And so regardless, if this guy left his home and went to police headquarters, and from police headquarters where his car is, and nobody knows where he is, as alleged by the family, one, the lead responsibility should be with the police authorities. And I would expect that the Inspector General of Police, these guys eat a lot of our money. They spend a lot of time training using my father's and grandfather's taxpayers' money. Unlike Mr. Museveni's grandfather, I don't know whether they pay taxes in this country, but my grandfather paid taxes in this country. So these guys are substantially paid, and very well paid, and in fact excessively paid. These days, the Inspector General of Police's convoy is like the Vice President in Obote 2 government. Just merely Inspector General of Police. And yet the Inspector General of Police in Obote's government drove one Mercedes-Benz car with one civilian driver, or sometimes police drivers, and a police escort. And so, what are these guys boasting for? What are they being paid for? In any case, this bunch sometimes, I want to politicize even the police and the army. One of the junk that they throw around is that they overthrew regimes that were illiterate, kind of stuff. And so for them, the intellectuals, I detest that word, intellectuals, well-read, some of them are lawyers, master's degrees. So if you reach that stage, this conversation should be common sense. So really...
You're speaking like the spokesperson of SFC who said, he said that you ask police, they're the ones who last saw him.
I actually don't.
The SFC spokesperson is saying this.
No, because...
But he's also right in
No, but he's not right. I don't know about
he says police, you were the last people with this person. Explain where he is, where you say, where he said. Journalists.
I am actually very... If the FDC spokesperson said so, it was a sensible observation. I'm saying authoritatively that the police should be the lead people. The burden of responsibility for this guy's whereabouts lies with the police.
Yeah.
In any case, he's their employee.
And even if he weren't, police is
that's the point. It's the job of the police.
Yeah.
He's their employee, and he had been summoned to the police, and this car is there. Police must explain. What is this funny thing in Naguru where somebody's car goes and just disappears? Suppose it's somebody else's home.
Some people think it's politics.
I'm coming to that. It's almost like Kasaija's home. I know these NRA guys, Mabatis can just fly. So police headquarters, maybe when the cars can also just jump like 10 little flies. So that alone tells me that unless there is an explanation or answer to the police, there's no reason why I should think about anything else. Charles's point, and I don't want to dismiss it, because Charles is a reasonably informed in this kind of circles.
Theories.
I don't want to call them theories. He may have information that he's trying to put around.
Yeah.
So the basis of this information, if it is a theory, I think is not particularly tempting to me on the basis of this.
Okay.
Meaning, therefore, if Charles's, quote, theories were true, I would expect a robust police force, once again, a robust police force, to already have come out. Because the police job, detection and prevention of crime, and at the level of NRA where Museveni pays people to even go ahead and spy in our bedrooms, you know, there's no way in which an overnight person of the level of Trini, including now the allegations, and counter allegations, they would not have the information. So I find it worrying that it would be true, as Charles suggests, that maybe this guy has self-kidnapped himself. I'm not saying that's what he's saying. Or there is something that the guy has done, or something has been staged, and the authorities don't know. Because if that's the case, you guys, young guys in Uganda, you should be very worried.
You know, why I am already worried, sir, is that he's not the only one. There are various people who are nowhere to be seen. You remember the case of Eddie Mutwe.
Yes, and then...
How have you reached a point of normalizing this? Because it feels like now when they tell you, he's been abducted, it's normal.
Yeah. And then the risk are, because I was going to say that, and if it's at that level, then what about an average Ochieno's cousin down the street? I can also say that in my level, it's neither here nor there. You know, if Ochieno disappears, you guys, I know you're going to run around. Promise, please. You know, but in Jesus' name, I'm not going to go under anybody's backyard. What do they call it? Garage. You know, I've already been to garages and basements, and before some of this. You know, so you see, so it's extremely worrying. What about the average Ugandan? And then what's the role of the authorities in this? So I found this interesting. Now, number two, then, on the question of the symposium. And I said I would like the symposium to succeed. But my problem is that I do not think, with respect, we need a symposium. You see the context. But Charles' symposium is addressing a lacuna, granted, because there are issues, if you take it over. You know. But it does not need a symposium. That's why I started with the other one.
What does it need?
No, it's a politics and it's leadership and it's a militarization of our politics. You gave a fantastic example that at the onset, and I actually didn't know that Simon Byamakama, a decent guy, that I nearly criticized, that possibly he didn't do enough on Kawempe. If indeed he told these people, in the presence of the media, that we don't expect you guys to beat up people, and they went ahead and beat up people, I don't know how many seminars and workshops, you know, are going to stop that. That's my concern. We know now, as part of the theories, the reasons and people who went ahead and did the beatings and why. And it's politics. That politics goes to State House. Mr. Museveni is the commander-in-chief. His son is the commander overall deputy number 2. And then somebody is head of police. And then somebody is head of the other security services. And it's almost like a family business. And it's business as usual. That really is the problem. Number 2, the politics, and I realize you talk about the new political formation as created. That politics in this country, NRA has now taken this country to the top level of impunity, and you can do anything, just as you say. They can do anything because nobody touches them. And whilst though, as we talk about the new political parties, I'm not quite sure where the political positions are. I argued earlier in a different program this morning that I think we need leadership within the alternative political opposition groups. You know, we need to come together slightly more. We need a much more clearer voice. A leadership to emerge. And leadership, when it emerges, is not necessarily the leader of the largest political party. And it's not necessarily possibly the leader of one of the parties. But political parties together need to have a clear voice to be able to say no and to give a bit of a pushback. Meaning, whatever happened in Kawempe, as of today, public opinion using agencies like his and your agencies should be that in Uganda come the next election, we are not going to vote for NRA unless they apologize for beating and whipping people. But quite clearly since then, we already had the MPs being given 100 million shillings to go ahead and bribe them for the nonsense they're going to play up tomorrow in the National Assembly, to insult Ugandans by trying to through the back door, to return military abuse of our civilians in their military barracks.
Thank you, sir. At 35 minutes past the top of the hour, you're still watching the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. I am with Mr. Charles Kazooba, the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies and also the president of the Uganda People's Congress, that is Joseph Ochieno. On to a lighter note, Uganda has already flew our first flight to London, direct flight, Uganda Airlines, to London. This has been celebrated by various people.
It's not fast though, but
yeah, it's a direct flight to London, and it's not the first time Uganda Airlines is flying this route. It was, but we had stopped flying there. And after the revamption of the Uganda Airlines, now as we speak, we have a route from Kampala or Entebbe to London. I want to hear from you, Mr. Kazooba. What do you think about this new phenomenon? Should we celebrate it, and why?
We should celebrate it. Reason being, a country's airline is a publicity tool. It sells the country's brand outside the borders of that country. If you've been observing, for instance, Rwanda, Rwanda Air has promoted Rwanda as a country all over the world. Uganda Airlines could do the same. And I just wish that they would fly to all destinations in the world. It does not matter in the meantime if they are making losses, because they are bound to make losses. I think there's only one airline that has been making profits, that is the Ethiopian Airlines. Kenya Airways has been making losses for all the years. But you keep it afloat because it promotes your brand as a country to those other countries. It helps you with tourism, it helps you with investments. And I think Jennifer is doing a commendable job, considering
she receives
that
87 million a month. She has to do a good job.
I'm not sure about the pay, but
Parliament confirmed to us.
But I also know here people who are stealing billions and they are doing a very bad job for the country. So that woman, because she has not had a past managerial role in an airline before, so this is her first. And if she's handling it the way she is doing it, in a positive direction, we should applaud her. But
is this enough? The routes that she has secured, there are not even that many.
It's a new airline.
It's been 4 years.
It's a new airline, and I'm sure they first evaluate a route. They first assess the route before taking it on, because could it for instance, during COVID, Ethiopian Airlines made a lot of money by moving cargo planes.
Yes.
So you have to make an assessment. Will it bring in money? Will it bring in investors?
You have
Will
said
it bring in tourists?
In money for now.
Yes,
so if
it might not.
To leverage and say it's a tourism tool, have we even audited to know these are the people that come because of Uganda Airlines particularly?
For instance, we get so many tourists from Asian countries. So I would want to also
have a route to Beijing.
Have a route, so many routes to those Asian countries. However, when those Asians come here, do they spend as much as the Europeans? So that assessment has to be done.
Okay.
Yes. So we really have to support her and her team. I was there, I think, a month ago, but I was unable to meet her. They were in some workshop somewhere. But I'm hoping she could also continue having interface with the media because you remember after Parliament attacked her, the committee of Joel Senyonyi, she has stayed away from the media, but yet she's doing so many things.
What advice do you give as to the airline itself to be better for the vision? For example, if you were to be like Rwanda Air or Ethiopia, though it has been there for a long while.
I have observed Rwanda Air, both Rwanda Air and Kenya Airways, continue to make losses, but also I believe because they are still under central control of government. I think some of these entities, we must leave them to survive on their own. We can only bail them out, but when it comes to decision making, we shouldn't hear that, for instance, Museveni has called Jennifer, please give us that plane, we want to go somewhere. No.
I was going to come there because those are things that are there.
So that interference should be totally eliminated.
Okay.
They should be able to run these entities as independent institutions, business entities. Yeah? Then we are able to assess as a country to see where the losses are coming from.
Exactly.
Because the losses could be actually arising out of the government interference. You have a minister, he has probably a sick daughter, he wants to transport to Germany, so he asks for a plane.
He charters the plane.
This guy's
like Museveni's daughter was chartered to Germany, wasn't she?
Yeah,
but to give birth.
We are not
Remember
sure.
that?
We are not sure whether he paid his money or.
But that happened.
No, but I think he's saying what you have been saying that we should avoid.
It is Semuju, and I remember. It is Semuju who wrote that story.
He was still a journalist at the time.
Yes.
So you saw that example there. Museveni and his daughter and grandchild.
Now, we should totally eliminate that interference.
Because I always see even Muhoozi as he's flying to Rwanda, he's using.
Yes. Now, if they are to do it, even if it is a government official, they should pay you requisition for the money from your office and pay. And you don't have to pay subsidized, discounted rate. Pay at a market value. Yes. So that, because this, as a country, we also want a profitable venture. I've told you the Ethiopian Airlines is one of the most profitable airlines, I think, in the world.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. So if Ethiopia can do it, I think we could also do it. However, on the airlines, in totality, these member states of the East African community should move towards forming one regional airline. So they should merge what they have. If indeed they want to make money, number one, but also to promote the region as one destination. There's no reason why Kenya should have theirs, Burundi should have theirs, Congo, DRC should have theirs, Kenya Airways. Let us bring them together, merge them into one regional airline, so that it markets East Africa as one territory. That would take us to greater, to a much better future in the aviation industry.
Thank you, Charles. Let me continue, Honorable Ochieno. What do you think about this new lucrative route from Entebbe to London?
There's nothing to celebrate. There's nothing to celebrate because I still have questions. How did Uganda Airlines collapse in the first instance? This bunch came in and found a functioning Uganda Airlines, almost profitable Uganda Airlines. They started using some of our planes for smuggling, them typical smugglers, as you know. I don't know whether they were carrying timber in some of those planes, but whatever happens, you know that Uganda Airlines collapsed and Uganda became a laughing stock for ages. So it's not surprising that now that there is a new national carrier cropped up, people just think that we've just been visited by Jesus. But no, we've been Christians since the beginning of time, certainly since the beginning of Christianity, certainly since the beginning of the name Ugandan. So that's very important. We must, and I repeat, for you as the journalist,
Yes, sir.
we must know who collapsed Uganda Airlines, who took the assets, the original Uganda Airlines. Number two, we now have this Uganda Airlines. I have information to the effect that certain individuals who are experts in aviation came up with the idea of restarting an organization like this. And their ideas basically, almost word by word, was stolen and ended up being what the current Uganda Airlines thing is. And I have no problem with that. And I don't think...
What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm just telling you that the refounding of Uganda Airlines as it is was something which is fired from one grouping of another. So people shouldn't boast as if this is an indigenous, original, new idea, even after...
Who is that one they stole that idea from? Just to inform our viewer.
Well, of course, then I would not be able to tell you that, but I'm giving very important information that must interest you as a journalist. Maybe eventually, if you find it so important, maybe these are the kind of conversations we should be having with Jennifer and the Minister for Transport, the other soldier, and maybe Mr. Museveni himself, who has had as a family privilege of flying people out of Uganda for treatment abroad. When I was just held up here in traffic, with an ambulance with somebody nearly dying just down the road because of a crooked road and traffic. So those are important things. But look, now that we have this, I am interested to know that, and Ugandans are, that this is fully, once again, national carrier with 100% shareholding by the peoples of the Republic of Uganda. And if there is any private elements, who are these other private interests who are shareholders? I don't know. Maybe Charles might know, maybe you might know. But I'm just throwing things at you. It's extremely important. If the existing Uganda Airlines, whose flight was relaunched to Gatwick, carrying our national flag, is a public thing, we say, yes, you stole, you broke the other one, you brought this, and it's okay, because I will not say thank you. Thank you for, it's okay, that's fine. So a bit of relief, we look forward rather than looking back. But then, is it 100%? If it's 100%, I'll be fine. For the record, that really is the important thing. But you are absolutely right to be slightly excited. It's shocking that Uganda, of all countries, would have gone without an airline for ages, just like Uganda, of all countries, has no rail network.
We went
again, sunk by these guys. No, we did. And why we did it?
Over 30 years without an airline.
Isn't it criminal? We're talking about disappearances, but there are really people who should not disappear, but there are people who should really be in Luzira. And they're actually boasting at the national level. But Charles is right about the fact that it's nice, generally, to have direct flights. People will celebrate if British Airways is launching a direct flight from Kampala to London, meaning Entebbe to London. People like these things, and when it comes to a local national hub, in this case Entebbe, it's an exciting thing. And for it to be an airline which carries our national flag, particularly if it is the case that we own it as a country, because if we don't own it as a country, then it's basically a sucker airline rather than anything else. Because I'm still quite concerned about other interested groups, and I have a reason why I'm saying so. But if it's a national carrier, like the one that Museveni found UPC and even Amin contributed to building, and then they broke it. It's nothing really to laugh about. Direct flight from Kampala, meaning Entebbe to London, is a good thing from a national carrier perspective, because our people struggle making these other trips, and particularly if the services in there are as good. Some people have, to their credit. A friend of mine flew Uganda Airlines recently, and they're quite pleased. I haven't flown recently. In fact, I haven't flown it at all. I'll fly you guys one of these days, and you better behave. But when I flew Air Uganda, that short-lived airline, I flew Air Uganda to Nairobi, and they're fantastic. And in any case, actually, I was treated quite well. I don't know how about other
when you
people.
look at the service of Uganda Airlines, it's decent, I would say.
I was told, yes.
But I want to look at what the Auditor General gave us in a report about the remuneration or salaries of these people.
Yes.
And according to the Auditor General, the CEO gets 87 million.
Yeah.
The Chief Financial Officer earns 73 million. Manager Finance, 58 million. Director of Maintenance, 80 million. Manager ICT, 36 million. Manager Cargo, 14 million per month. Human Resource, 43 million. Manager Quality Assurance, 43 million, to mention but a few. I am not good at so much mathematics, but this looks to be too much.
It's a huge amount of money, and I noted, Charles...
For an airline that is not making money...
It's not even about making money. It's about some of the people whose jobs we don't know. And Jennifer is a fantastically decent lady. She's actually very beautiful. I look forward to meeting her one of these days. And she's a daughter I know, as it happens, of somebody whose father faced a death and NRA war of terror in Kisementi. I need to say this on air because Jennifer's dad died in a grenade attack at Kisementi in Kampala. And obviously, UPC was in government, but maybe people are rewarding Jennifer because her father died of that. And I'm saying this for a reason.
Why?
You know, so look, Jennifer is decent. The questions that the parliamentarians that you refer to as Senyonyi, I don't know why you refer to the name Senyonyi in that way, because there's an undertone there almost as if Senyonyi of NUP. No, it was a parliamentary committee challenging Jennifer Bamturek for the right reasons, including her credentials. In fact, she may accidentally go ahead and succeed, and I want her to succeed, you know, but the questions that the parliamentary committee raised were absolutely legitimate. If I was president of the Republic of Uganda, I would not let that to be the remuneration simply because airlines is fresh and we're down with that one for 30 years. There's no reason why we don't look back. There's nothing basically special about Uganda Airlines that you don't compare with Uganda Railways and you don't compare with the Uganda National Health Service. If there are specialist areas in terms of particular technology, maybe pilots, and then you compare with the rest of the world and you make arguments, that you can do. But at the end of the day, how many are going to compare? You know, with the rest of the world.
As we go for the break, Charles, what do you think about these bizarre payments made to the people working in the Uganda Airlines? The money.
I know of media houses that have CEOs who are paid 30 million. And you find the media house does not even
private
cover an audience of 100,000 people.
If they're private media houses, that is fine with their CEOs.
So before we even begin criticizing the salaries, I wish we knew, for instance, what the CEOs of other airlines are earning, so that we would compare, to help us. For instance, the one of Kenya Airways. How much is the CEO earning, Ethiopian Airlines? Then we would arrive at a standard.
But even if we didn't, don't you think 87 million, that's around $26,000?
Yes.
Isn't that too much, really, for just an individual?
It is too much if you are, if you don't know what it takes to running an airline. But those involved, what do they say? That is very important.
Okay.
Are you not aware, for instance, that we have politicians who earn as much as 100 million?
And we reject that. Yeah.
Yes, so.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to look through the aviation of Kenya Airways, and at least they say, for example, their salaries range from 20,000 to 24,000 per year. And this is just the software engineer in the aviation of Kenya alone, Kenya Airways. So if the aviation officer is getting around 20 to 24,000 per year, this person is also getting 24,000 or 25 per month.
It is impossible. It is impossible.
Okay.
Because, for instance, our ambassadors are paid very poorly, but you find them earning about $2,000-3,000, $4,000. I think the highest paid could be around $7,000 or $8,000.
Okay.
So the money issue is really you have to look at quite a number of things before, because I don't think that, for instance, President Museveni woke up and decided to pay Jennifer this amount of money. You remember before re-establishing the airline, there were a lot of things, a lot of studies which were conducted. And there were recommendations that were made.
We shall ask who did those studies.
It could have been out of that information that they arrived at that amount.
Let me hear information.
Just a quick one. Part of the temptations that we should not get into is to justify things that we know are quite clearly dubious in Uganda, to take them across the boundaries. But it's also absolutely important that when we're looking at the situations in our country, we look at relative circumstances across the country, across the continent, and indeed the rest of the world. On the question of pay, you've just raised the Kenyan question, and my brother is challenging that. I don't know what figures are. So we're not now dealing with these things on evidence. And it's not about pinning situations. We're simply saying as a country, which is like Uganda, a country in which people die, for lack of basic medical services worth the 10,000 shillings. A country in which a child, a 6-year-old pupil dies, because of cerebral malaria, in my village in Nagonga. There's no justification for this. Legislators in this country, get paid over £10,000, over £10,000 per month. British members of parliament only about now, get about £90,000. By the last time that I was nearly going per year. So by the time I was nearly going to British Parliament, members of Parliament, including the senior members of Parliament, were earning £46,000 per annum. In fact, those rates are per annum. And people started arguing about MPs' pay. And part of the argument there was a debate. And if you don't mind, let me just continue this a bit. There was an argument in Britain at some stage, which is here, that we needed to increase the MPs' pay a bit in order to attract quality people in British Parliament. Right now, we've got dubious people rushing to Parliament because of money.
Okay.
So some of these relativity things are neither here nor there.
Let's take a break.
The truth is that for an airline like Uganda Airlines to come, we should look at the size of our economy. We should look at the state at which the airline is, and yes, we can actually do the relativity thing.
Okay.
Occasionally, maybe we might say that we want to attract maybe an expatriate pilot for some reason, because we want to beef up our own. But picking and choosing that you're paying particular people, Uganda Airlines, like the almost criminal thing that people did with UNRWA, and the other one, the tax collecting thing, is what is it called?
URA.
URA, and doctors are being paid peanut.
Okay.
And
let me
other
come
public
from the
services.
break.
So it's a contradiction.
Okay, when we come back, we shall look at some of the amendments that are going to be made in Parliament. There are two. There is the UPDF Amendment Act and the Political Parties Amendment Bill. In fact, the amendment bills that have been already tabled in Parliament. What does this mean for different political parties? But generally, what does it also mean for Ugandans? You're still watching the Hotline Show. My name is Karuhanga Edgar Mathew. Let's take a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
But at the church, though,
Tawali man, what's up?
man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, recorder. Did you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk. The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
You're welcome back from that break. You're still watching the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, and this is Digitalk TV, Uganda's leading online media platform, where we get to have conversations that build this country, looking for solutions to some of the issues that may be affecting various Ugandans in here and across. You have the Political Parties and Organizations Act 2005 that is going to be amended. Now, the government seeks to amend this particular political party to help in creating a clarity in how political parties use money that is given or allocated unto them, and of course how best they can be clearer and more open in some of the political party activities that are done. So I want to just hear in from the various candidates here or members here on what they think about this particular bill. Is it necessary in the first place, or are we doing something different? I'm going to hear from you, Mr. Ochieno, first, since you are a leader of a political party in this country. In fact, one of the oldest political parties that we have in this country. As the UPC, when you look at this bill that is going to be tabled in Parliament, it has already been tabled, but for the second hearing, what is the vision behind this particular, change in the law?
It's crude that some of our colleagues in some of the democratic opposition actually argue that this bill is designed to to stifle them and to break their legs and to ensure that they don't access the monies that they would others do. And that's one of the reasons why the proposal is a rather bizarre proposal that only political parties that have agreed to go and kneel together with Mr. Museveni over breakfast should qualify for some of this funding.
What do you mean by kneel?
Yes.
Is it the umbrella of iPod?
And then, indeed. And then, unfortunately, yes, indeed, that iPod thing. And then number two, ironically, the flag of Uganda People's Congress is in that iPod. And of course, the person who sent iPod, who's representing iPod there, is Jim McKenna,
yes,
whom Museveni's own courts have ruled systematically from the High Court, Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court rule that is not leader. And so you can see that therefore this bill sets out a design to basically almost formalize or legalize and normalize and constitutionalize an arrangement of a grouping of like-minded groupings to basically make money out of public parks.
Just inform my viewer is that what you're meaning is that they have to unite under the inter-party organization.
Not necessarily unite, no, they have to belong. They have to belong.
Exactly. Yeah. So one would say they are bringing about a place where you can exchange views, because there's a lot of antagonism in our politics. So is there a problem with you sitting on the table with Mr. Museveni?
Do you need to legislate exchange of views? Do you? So we need to make it constitutional that unless you're prepared to go and sit with the NRA, including those who might have stolen in Congo, then you're not a Ugandan citizen. Can you do that? No, you don't. You're just a sensible member of Uganda People's Congress, or a sensible leader. You say that members of NRA, even if some of them are thieves, they're Ugandan citizens, so you're able to shake hands with them and sit with them and have a cup of tea. But that should not become a question of legislation, and let alone something which is coded in the Constitution. No. Officially, Edgar, look at me, my brother, young brother. A future UPC government would repeal that nonsense in entirety. I think I've told the program that I'm actually opposed, Charles, as a matter of interest. I'm opposed actually to this business of political parties being funded by the state, being funded by the poor citizens, being funded by the poor beggars who go ahead and beg for transport and school fees from members of parliament. I believe that political parties, in their own civic ways, should be organizations that voluntarily must have the leadership that have got capacity to mobilize the resources. Number two, the membership that are committed, and that's what happened the world over, that you survive on the basis of membership subscription, you survive on the basis of donations from members and supporters, and you survive from the vision of your leadership to mobilize and attract resources from elsewhere, and to create an enabling environment in which you're able to go ahead and compete and campaign in a free and open democratic environment. That's what political parties are. The idea that that should be funded by the state,
supported.
It's funded. Funded, not supported. Funded, you can call it anything. But the fact that 35...
and support would be positive.
Look, but it's a negative thing, unfortunately. So if that's what you're saying, then the more reason why I don't want to use your word support. 35 billion Uganda shillings is a huge amount of money, and so a political party worthy of a name, I repeat, must be able to mobilize through its membership, supporters and friends for resources for their viability. Okay. It cannot and must not be the burden of the ordinary citizens to pay for them. One thing that I know, though, and is this, that Museveni and my late friend and brother Olanye Jacob, apparently they sneaked into this thing because NRA was continuously using our public coffers, and Museveni, I'm told, once in a while used to go and sell his cows from Rwakatura, which Rwakatura is public land anyway, sell those cows from Rwakatura. So every other time NRA secretariat is broke and they're not able to pay wages, they go to Museveni, say, can you find other ways, maybe classified things, some of those dollars, maybe if your friends from South Sudan are lucky enough to give you some dollars in blue envelopes, share kind of stuff. This is what they were doing. So they found a way to legalize the process. So this thing, other political parties may have bought into it, that's a fine deal. No, it's not a fine deal. It's an enabler to the continued theft of our national resources in the name of funding political parties.
But UPC has been getting money.
That's why I told you that, unfortunately.
Let me say this.
Unfortunately, my political party's emblem is there, and that's why I said it's a group of kneelers. That is not the position of UPC.
The new bill wants that the money you get as UPC, we can clearly see how you have used it, how you have utilized it, how you have accounted for it. Where has it gone? So one would say, isn't this positive?
No.
Because most political parties, or some political parties, have been using this money for their own reasons. So government is saying the money we give you, we want to check.
That's why I'm trying to say that government should not give the sharing of this public money, which is basically public theft by a group of people called political parties and their leaders. No, they're theft. No, political parties should not be funded by the public purse. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
You know, you and I, when we form Ochieno and Edgar Karuhanga Uganda Limited for this end of term, you know, we are not going to get money from Museveni's court. And you know, like the traffic that I passed here this evening, when you pass down there and you see Uganda government vehicle and you try and wave them down, they might come out and slap particularly. Me at least they might recognize Ochieno, we don't charge him. Because they're basically asking for money for fuel to take you down to town. No, it doesn't work that way. You know, we don't have enough money. No, in principle, I'm insisting that regardless of the details of the bill, we shouldn't be here. I'm telling you officially, a future UPC government would delete that of the city. Yes, number one. And number two, the amendments as of now is even worse than what it was before. Meaning the amendments is designed to cajole other political parties, like maybe the PFF and others who imagined political parties who are not willing to be part of that club, you know, that they possibly don't get the money. So the idea is that if you don't belong,
one time refused to be part of that.
Yes, so that if you don't belong to that crooked club, you know, you're not entitled to the money, even if you have the numbers in Parliament. And so it's a bill in a double bad faith.
Let me hear what Charles has to say, but before I invite you, for the benefit of our people listening, the political parties, and I'm going to read it directly as how it is here, the Political Parties and Organizations Amendment Bill 2025 seeks to amend the current law to limit government funding and other public resources to only those political parties and organizations represented in Parliament that are also members of the National Consultative Forum, which is the IPOD in this case. It establishes the Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue and a forum for non-represented political parties and organizations as organs of the forum, outlines their governance and functions, and aims to enhance inter-party dialogue, promote democratic governance, and provide platforms for constructive political engagement in this country called Uganda. So what do you think about this particular bill?
First of all, I believe in people talking for the good of the country, even in our own families and our own homes. People should be able to talk. Once there is no communication, then you break apart. And of course you understand where I'm coming from. That's why I'm even organizing this civil military symposium. Now, the opposition is arguing that they are being forced to talk to NRM. We also are aware that some opposition people have always won seats because of hostility towards NRM. In fact, if they see you hobnobbing with an NRM person, you lose your constituency. Yeah. The other day I met a Narokora coming from some restaurant. So I just peeped in the compound and I saw also government vehicles parked somewhere. I said, could this man have... that is what came into my mind. But
you hear that intolerance, that even meeting Museveni,
exactly. Yet I expect Ochieno to sit in the same room with President Museveni, Dr. Chiza Besigye, General Montu, Bobi Wine. They should be able to sit in one room, share a meal, even drink tea together, and discuss a way how this country should be governed. We understand? There should be a common ground. There should be certain standards that should be met by all of them. In Rwanda, it is happening. If you're in opposition and you want power, there are certain things that you should be able to agree on.
What they call the bare
as
minimum.
opposition and the ruling party. Then the rest you can disagree.
And as you say, Charles, we don't have that in this country.
We don't have it here.
Even in death,
Yes.
we're still divided.
Yes, so it should be happening. So people should be able to talk.
Okay.
Now, the issue is, should you force people to talk? I think you shouldn't. You shouldn't force them, neither should you coerce them. On the issue of money,
No, but before we look at the money, let's look at the spirit behind the law. You said people should talk, which is ideal. But you, in your honesty, what is the spirit behind the amendment? Is it actually to bring people to talk? Or there is something we are not seeing?
do you know that, Mr. Karuhanga, if you don't like me, but I keep talking to you, I even keep coming to visit you, there's a possibility that 15% of you will like me at some point. But if I stay away from you, the hate in me actually escalates. You get it? I want you to remember Konyi, when Konyi was fighting Museveni. We started seeing an improvement in communication when Saleh visited Konyi.
Oh, Mao. I thought you were going to say Mao.
Saleh.
Okay.
Because Saleh is Museveni's blood.
Exactly.
And Konyi did not kill Saleh. Actually, I'm told he even named one of his sons Saleh. With time, you've seen that President Museveni even now accommodates Konyi's relatives.
Yes.
He provides for them.
Yes.
Now, hadn't there been any contact, the hate would have escalated to a point that you just want to destroy somebody with nuclear weapons, totally, because of failure to communicate.
I get you.
Now, in this country, if we don't talk to one another, then we are polarizing our society.
So are you saying that at the end of the day, we should be forced to talk? This law comes from a good place?
We must be able to talk, whether we like it or not.
So why
Me, as somebody who pays taxes, I want these people to talk. I don't think Museveni has 50 years ahead. Does he?
He also says he has grown old.
So, what is wrong with having people talk? Creating a ground, an environment for us to talk.
But Charles, iPod has been there.
Yes, it has.
What has it yielded?
You see, that is the problem.
Please do.
Opposition has gone into iPod with a view of taking power. NRM is into iPod with a view of retaining power. So already the organization becomes polarized. You cannot have a meeting of minds.
So
I
how
wish-
is the legislating this going to help?
I wish these parties came together with a mindset of promoting the interests of the citizens, number one, before promoting their own interests. You get it?
I get you, sir. I get you.
Because if you're only discussing on you arresting me, I don't want to be arrested. Before we reach that point, what are the interests of the citizens that you are representing? When we came out, we emerged from COVID. What was the fate of most citizens? Who was discussing their fate? Today, we are saying every 4 people, there is a mad person. Isn't it?
Yes, in this country.
Who is even discussing that? These political actors are busy talking about their own freedoms. Are we discussing the interests of citizens, number one? Before you even talk about yourselves. Me, how much I should be getting. You, please don't use the government vehicles during campaigns. Some of these things have driven the population away from politics.
No, the truth is the population seems to be distant from the people in power, if you realize
Exactly.
it. Yes.
And that is why, if you tested, if for instance, you said voluntary contribution of resources to political parties, you would be shocked.
Yeah,
Parties will run broke because nobody will want to contribute to these political parties. They are not representing citizens' interests. How I wish they would go back to the drawing board and first understand what citizens want.
Let's first look at a precedent. Norbert Mao in 2022 said he's going to be working with NRM. They even signed a treaty of agreement. A few years down the road, the same people who signed the treaty are lamenting that it was not respected. How are we sure that Mr. Museveni is going to respect, or the government is going to respect the iPod and its deliberations?
Are you sure that Mao had agreed with President Museveni some of those things? Because my understanding is that there was never that discussion of agreement.
Mao has this year even come out to say Mr. Museveni is
That
not
is why Museveni was even shocked to hear in the press what Mao was saying. Probably Mao negotiated with the third party. and now he was claiming that Museveni had agreed with him. It seems the third party did not represent Mao very well to Museveni. I spoke to Mao. We met him in his office. We had gone to deliver to him our own proposals on governance. But my understanding is that I don't think there was that discussion between Mao himself and Museveni, and that they agreed on a certain proposals. I don't think that happened. Now,
Yes, sir.
even though it did not, Mao has the privilege to meet Museveni, and they can talk.
He meets him in cabinet.
Yes, but he can also even ask for a private meeting.
Yes, exactly.
And he visits him in Wachitura. That is possible.
Why are you calling it a privilege?
Huh?
Why are you calling
Because he's in the cabinet.
But if you have a president, every citizen should have the right to exactly the right to the
That's
privilege.
the ideal, but it is not the reality.
Even in the US, I don't think that is the case. That every citizen.
I don't know about the US, but
Now,
yeah.
because me, I believe.
But I want you to know that most of the political parties have refused.
I
that
believe. Let me tell you one thing. In this world, I've come to appreciate one fact: that there is no human being who is inherently evil.
Although,
can't be completely
although we
evil.
have some very terrible evil ones around town.
saying you can't be completely evil.
Whichever human being, even if it were Hitler, because at his death, you remember Hitler believed so much in the woman that he had in that bunker. there is somebody at some point who is able to influence this person.
Exactly.
And that can only happen through talking.
Okay, let me come to him. Talking is the way to go, but he points out something pertinent, that political parties have degenerated to a point where the populace does not want to affiliate with them, with a certain political party, a certain sector. That's why we've heard of narratives of why isn't the opposition uniting as one force. So I think there is no value yet to the extent of your political parties today, and they are not even that relevant. What do you think?
Because Charles is a victim. He's a victim. He doesn't know anything else except NRA. He became 18 when NRA was in power. That's how terrible NRA has subjected this country to cruelty. He became a teenager when Museveni was in power, and by then political parties had been banned. But he's a researcher. He should do more research. You'll find that the Democratic Party was massively an organized political party in this country, as an opposition political party, in the 80s, with massive support and backing by the membership. Number two, the best example of a member-driven political organization at the moment, we can call them even at the leadership anything else, but NUP, with some supporters who can be over-enthusiastic when they're down the road, but some supporters who are quietly but fairly sophisticated both at home and abroad, and they do they support that political organization. The Uganda People's Congress, we are not a broke political party. Even when NRA tried to break us up in the last 40 years, we are not broke. The only thing is that our leadership is being compromised, and NRA guys are terribly jealous, so focusing on NRA and other opponents of ours to try and break us and make it. But no, we're not a broke political party. So you can imagine after 40 years of NRA, DP, all other political organizations, some chauvinist and nationalist organizations, some foreign media organizations, including some foreign forces, some global imperialist powers wanting to break us because of our nationalist and Pan-Africanist stance. We're still going strong and very viable as a political party. And that, one, because of ideology, two, because of the context of our leadership, particularly the foundation at the beginning, and then three, in part by the membership. I am possibly an example of membership and commitment, being able to say that you translate that support and conviction to supporting the political party that you represent. That said, pre-NRA, I talked about the Democratic Party, Uganda People's Congress. We won 1980 general elections convincingly, and we won it without public resources. We won in 1962 elections. We won it without public resources. I repeat, political parties do not have to have access to public funding. Political parties, and I've got reasonable experience about political parties, including membership, as member of the British Labour Party, chairman branch, chairman constituency, secretary branch, secretary constituency, secretary local government executive, vice chair membership at the constituency, and I can go on. Vice chair membership, and as chairman for particularly the constituency, you also, and their constituency is much more organized than the NRA cities, so you can imagine at that level. So very serious political party level and organization. So you see, we receive monthly report of membership and monthly report of finances. As chairman of the party, I organized, together with my area member of parliament who retired recently as mother of the British Parliament, Harriet Hammond, I hosted a number of fundraising meetings. I'm just giving people how these things are done. Sherry Blair, at the time the wife of the British Prime Minister, in my constituency, part of local party fundraising.
That is the idea, and one would say that's the UK. This is Africa, Kampala, Uganda, sir.
Don't let me down. You're a fantastically handsome young man.
Today,
by the way, you're very smart.
I'm a realist.
Today, you're very smart.
I am a realist. For me. I like to look at issues because you're saying, but the truth is, when you look at the reality on ground, are even our people civically educated
and how long did it take to reach that level?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's speak for the real Uganda today.
Your fantastic camera lady got me because she followed. I want to repeat. I told you what happens there. There is no reason why what was happening under Blair administration just the other day, which continues to happen today, and by my support and membership of the British Labour Party continues, except I want to say, because on air, that I need to renew the membership because they lapsed if you don't do it annually and every season moment. And I'm going to be doing so the next time I'm on flight into London. Do you know what?
So will they allow you to contest for president?
What? What's that?
When you belong to a Labour Party?
I think you'll be very excited. Maybe you want to give Museveni an egg. No, belong to the Labour Party does not stop me from becoming a president of the Republic of Uganda. In any case, anyway, one thing that Museveni dreams about in the night, he wished I had taken British citizenship. I do not. So unlike unlike many other people who trace their ancestry to beyond the boundaries of Uganda,
Okay.
no, mine is Uganda. Mine is Uganda. So look, Charles, I said that the Democratic Party in the 80s was generally a viable political party with the support of the local membership.
Okay, sir.
So, meaning, if it happened 50 years ago, before these bandits came to bring economic miracle to Kampala, why doesn't it happen today? That's why I'm giving the context.
Yeah, okay.
And I said, UPC won the 1980 general elections, generally without state money. And we won the independence election without state money. I'm trying to say to you, these things have happened in this country and they can happen again. But why I get concerned about it, I'm not going to address you directly. Usually when I contextualize these things, it is deliberate. Because one of the things that Museveni wants is for us to maintain this state of hopelessness and belief that nothing can change. I am trying to tell you Ugandans that it is possible to get better. And because we have a quagmire in which we have, it's only quagmire created by NRA, meaning Ugandans need to wake up and take charge. Okay. So it's actually that political parties, even the smaller political parties that are starting today, if you've got 1,000 members and they commit themselves to that, through your membership subscription, through your support networks, through memorabilia and many other things, and innovation equally support, there's no reason why you don't do it. So you don't need money. And finally, Obote told James Ranyarara at the time, meaning Milton Obote Foundation money versus public money. Obote was saying that if you're a leader of a political party worthy of a name, challenging Dr. James Ranyarara, fantastic leader of ours, by the way, that no, you don't necessarily need to depend on Milton Obote Foundation. Meaning, as a political party leader, you should be able to have the organization, the capacity to generate resources. That's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
So if there is anybody in this country worthy of a leader of any political party, they should be able to sustain their political party on their own and go ahead and find a way of looking for money without seeking public money or with stealing public funds.
Thank you. Charles, what do you think about the PFF? It's a new political party that has been launched, in fact, finally gazetted. What do you think about it? And also, Muhwezi Rogers, in fact, you also asked the question at the same time. You say PFF, your political party. What do you think about PFF, the new kid on the block?
I think, not just thinking, it is a fact that you have now serious opposition get a new home. These others are just masqueraders. So
even Ochieno is a masquerader.
I hope he doesn't mean that.
That's what I'm saying, because
he didn't say that.
He has generalized everybody.
He didn't say
so
that.
UPC, everybody is a masquerader.
When you have credible opposition, they provide alternative voices, alternative views that help grow a country. At times, Museveni is stuck because of being surrounded by sycophants. They can't reject whatever he says, they can't criticize whatever he says. So, the only place where he can find serious advice should be opposition. But now, you also have some opposition which is fake. So, as a country, when we see PFF, the one of Katonga faction, then we should applaud that they have been able to start a new home. And mind you, I've also been seeing people who have nowhere to run to. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Politicians, you mean, right?
Yes, politicians.
Yes, I've also noticed that.
And they can't come to UPC?
But UPC to find who there.
Of course, here we are.
But you've said you're not there. I can hijack the party from you.
No. I cannot hijack the party headquarters and the emblem. No. No, UPC is on there. No,
So-
you guys come to Uganda Post Congress. The political
No,
party of
but
the
what
future.
in fact, what he says is actually true. If you're a political scholar and you know most of our politicians here, some of them have not been having anywhere to go.
Yes.
They're
So
just there.
they are now, I think, lucky that PFF has been gazetted, and I think it will be cleared by the time of nominations. I was talking to somebody, and he was telling me he has already picked expression of interest from PFF to contest.
But these people have been there, and as you've said, what else are they going to do? How different is PFF from the Forum for Democratic Change that we had then? How different is it?
If you've been around since 2000, then you will know that Dr. Besigye has contributed a lot, quite a lot, to the governance of this country in terms of policies and trying to level the ground for political competition. So he has done quite a lot, and you cannot just wish that group away.
Okay.
All these people, he has mentored them. They are very straightforward. The UPDF amendment bill has come because of their member, Honorable Kawazeguruka.
Yes.
So that group has credibility in the eyes of the population.
Okay.
They have serious ideas. Not
You brought back the word serious. You've used it also as you said the opposition today is not serious. And you said they are masquerading. But I want you to also please elaborate on that. Why? There are many people who right now are in, one would say, basements. They have been beaten. Some people have lost their life. Isn't this a form of mockery to those people who have lost their lives trying to advocate for what you call a fake opposition?
So your argument is that they are beaten because of their serious ideas. I don't know.
They die. Some have
Yes,
died.
and they have been arrested. That is very true. Because I know of one guy who has never appeared. He was a campaign agent of one of the NUP MPs. And he has never surfaced again.
Okay,
To
there is
date.
also Chibalama. Yeah.
But they don't even talk about that guy. Now, the conduct of President Museveni and NRM should not deter serious politics. It shouldn't. It shouldn't make anybody become a mercenary. And I know of so many mercenaries, except that I'm on air, I don't want to cause problems for you. They're in politics basically to make money. But when it comes to realigning the governance of this country, they are not. They don't even have the brains, by the way. They don't. And that is very unfortunate because they have become populists, and they're taking advantage of gullible society. Now, when Besigye and his group come back, I know Besigye has issues, but he's a serious politician. In this region, you rank him at the same level as Raila Odinga. And the man is not just respected here in this country, but also out of this country. So, if he can keep mentoring new blood, in future, Besigye, yes, might not even be president, but he will have instilled certain seeds of proper leadership in quite a number of people.
Okay.
And maybe in the future, the country can also benefit from those people.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Joseph Ochieno, the new PFF, my question is, as you tell me what you think about it as a new political party, why don't we see people joining other political parties but go on to start their own political parties? The case of ANT, the case of NUP, now the case of PFF. I wonder why you did not say, let me just start a new political party, since it has been hijacked. So please juxtapose for us those issues.
I think that is very, very important question. And it's indeed an important question for me. And I notice with interest how you zero it back onto myself. Early in the day, I was on a television program, a national television program with Harold Kaija, a good friend of mine who is now the Secretary General for this new political organization. I wish them well.
Yes, sir.
And number two, partly because of this really, the space within which we are as a household, it becomes a little bit difficult for me to do the pundit role. But I must. And so Harold possibly mistakenly argued to the presenter that the difference between them in PFF and the guys they left, the colleagues, or what you call former colleagues, was not ideological, but values. I think there was a bit of a contradiction there. I'm not quite sure what it basically meant. So basically the most important thing that the difference was not ideological. And if the difference is not ideological, then you look at my situation in Uganda People's Congress. I am very clear that we are the only and certainly the leading, most ideologically coherent and clear political party in this country. And that serves as a purpose. But partly really also because of the convictions around ideological rootings. I am UPC and thoroughbred UPC, and the longer I find myself here and look at NRA and others, the more convinced I am that there is no other political party for me except Uganda People's Congress. Except that the internal contradictions that emerge become issues of personality, issues of strategy, issues of money, and sometimes possibly even issues of infiltration. And then you wonder that if you're a herdsman or a farmer in this case, and then dubious thieves come to disorganize the kraal in your household, do you abandon the kraal and then move on to other spaces, or do you seek to reclaim the space? That, from my perspective, is what I continue to do. But again, unlike what Charles is talking about, even while I was on air, as I was trying to check a certain concept as we were discussing, I actually found that I've just received a message within the last 30 minutes from a youngster without prejudice from Western Uganda who's a student somewhere and is asking me to join Uganda People's Congress while we were on air, but not whether or not they were watching or not, because I've not read the whole thing into details. So people join UPC, and I believe people join other political parties. So lest we forget, the challenges we have in terms of our strengths and political parties is neither here nor there. At least I receive and I recruit on a daily basis. So that is that. Now, when Dr. Besigye, and I hope I have the time to make this, but I'll try and be as brief as possible. When Dr. Besigye broke up from NRA, or with NRA, and when they came to this agreement in 1999, leading to the year 2000 as they started speculations towards forming another political party. Dr. Besigye eventually, I think around the year 2000 actually, went to Lusaka to meet Dr. Obote. You know that I was basically heading the external bureau of the party in UK and sort of basically generally heading the strategic operations of the campaigns externally in the global north. And so my opinion now was sought, and we shared stuff. So I knew Besigye was going to Lusaka, and we had a conversation around this thing. At the time, my concern was, following the 1996 elections, what is it that we should do as a democratic opposition? I was quite reluctant to support the idea, but of course they're free to form their own new political parties. I was anxious, and I hoped that Dr. Besigye would either join UPC or join DP, or we found a way in which the then DP, who are now joined us, having helped form NRA for 10 years, when Dr. Semugero left DP in 1996. And to his credit, when Dr. Semugero left DP, he came to us in UPC. In fact, I hosted him on his first formal trip in London, and a big meeting for DP and others as oppositions, although we knew that we were not together. I wanted such a thing and expected such a thing to happen. I've also suggested that Besigye and his family, maybe some of his family members, might, for historical and sometimes political reasons, not wanted to have joined UPC. But I believe that maybe if they had joined DP, maybe DP would be a different political party and the opposition would be different. But they went ahead and formed FDC, and they've made a huge contribution to the campaign that they found us on, campaign against NRA dictatorship. Fast forward, you know that Mugisha Muntu went on to become the leader of FDC, and Mugisha Muntu left and formed his own political party. I didn't really want to push this earlier, and I don't want to push too much of it. But then out of FDC that remained, excuse me, now two parties have emerged. Clearly it's true that the general public opinion is that the most coherent of the more recent two FDCs, people see the Besigye wing of FDC, people call it radical or anything else, but people tend to see it as possibly the more pure one, or the one which is more distant from the NRA. But I've also said that most of these guys in FDC were members of NRA, so sometimes actually cleansing this is not very particularly easy, you know. So in a way, there now comes the contradiction. Do we need more political parties?
Exactly.
I have always argued that no, we don't. We need more leadership, meaning leadership to emerge, just like we were having a conversation earlier.
Can we say our leaders are selfish?
On the basis, no, I'm not sure. In a way, I don't want to say that because...
Why would they always want to just look at forming a new political party?
You might want to go ahead and make a conclusion, so I will not answer you that in the affirmative. But I just want to say this, that I think generally, in this case, if we were coalescing around together and a much more cohesive opposition, especially they say, for argument's sake, the 5 strongest political parties, opposition parties, we would be in a better position challenging NRA. That I'm very, very clear about. But then if you go to look at the accusations that the Besigye group lay against the other, if you look at the accusations that are laid against Norbert Mao, if you look at the factual evidence I have about a section of my friends in UPC and what they're trying to do with Museveni and others, it's difficult to blame them wholesome. You know, that's part of the problem. But then I come to ask you a question, and you go around. Is forming another political party the answer? In my opinion, I don't see how I can go ahead and form another UPC. My view is that our job as members of Uganda People's Congress, including the young people who joined me, including the other member that new member that I spoke to for about 2 hours as I was doing my exercise the other day, is that our job is to add our numbers, expose whatever is happening through formal democratic means, reclaim the leadership of this party. That even if it doesn't happen today, tomorrow, next week, we reclaim the leadership of this party and then make sure that the good values of this party wins. Just like we want that at a time when Mr. Museveni retires, and I agree with Charles some of the concerns about them versus us kind of stuff, that at some stage there's a Uganda in which we focus on the future of our children, regardless of all our backgrounds and all our messes in the past and contributions to the mess, whoever made those things. So It is hard, it's contradictory. PFF, if you see the contemporary history, it's an imperative that they constitute themselves. How much that contributes in numerical terms to the struggle is tricky. However, their leadership as a distinct political party, if they come on the table and focus together with everyone else in a common agenda, there's no reason why it's not a better reality for the struggles that we've got than sitting in a household in which you are running like headless chicken.
Let me ask Charles, because that's what also I was saying. If you were to give, for example, advice to the PFF now, where do you want them to start from? They're already here. What can they start on as the PFF?
Mobilization. And that is what they lacked.
As FDC?
Yes, in FDC. During their reign as leaders. General Muntu was fought terribly, but they failed to buy into his arguments. If they had, I think they would have been very far today. You have to look at the group that has kept FDC running and this new PFF. These are people that emerged from 2000, I think up to around 2005.
Exactly, 2006, yeah.
But now we have a new generation.
Exactly.
A new generation of very young people who want to listen to new positive ideas that add value to them, not the bickering. It is therefore time for Besje to reorient his mentees, the CAADS, the Semujungandas and others, to focus on bringing the young people on board, the new people, new young people, recruit en masse. And recruitment, I'm not saying it's just by going to rallies. Then you invite police to beat you up and that is a recruitment. No, I'm saying serious recruitment.
You invite. I like your choice of words.
Yes.
How can someone invite police to just beat you?
Because I've been following Muntu. Muntu has been targeting these young people.
Yes.
And he does it silently. If that guy had the resources,
Exactly.
he would have become a very formidable force today.
And just to add on that, when you listen to the quality of the young people in the Alliance for National Transformation,
Yes.
they are different.
Yes.
Very different breed
So,
of young people.
PFF, if PFF wants to be very serious, they have to go and start recruiting young people from all corners of the country. They should not give excuses. This was arrested. That is not allowing us. There are so many numerous forms of recruitment. You can do it digitally. You can do it through phones. The social networks are so many. Associations are there. Let them start.
Okay, thank you. As you give us your parting shot, Mr. Ochieno, where should the PFF start from?
I mean, they've got a foundation. Unfortunately, of course, their leader is being, wrapped up crudely by NRA unacceptably, and something that we must continue to condemn. And it's really a shame on them that Besje is one of them and was one of them. So that limits them in a way. But partly because of that, they have huge publicity because around Besje is sort of now the best known name in opposition, although Chegulanyi's emergence in the last few years with an element of hope in terms of what he did and may challenge that for them. So in terms of name recognition for formidable leaders, as Charles was saying, so that gives them a good start. But number two, because they effectively break away political organization from FDC, I was discussing, they will be starting with a number of members of parliament, in fact several members of parliament, So they will be starting from a point of view, from a stage in which they're better than A&T, and possibly they may even rival DP in numbers for a start by possibly end of business in that way. And as I understand it, some of the members of other political parties may be fished off to join them, but I don't want to go to speculative details. So,
won't you join them?
That would be an insult to me, because there's no circumstance under which I would join any political organization. These people should come back to Uganda People's Congress. In any case, some of them are children of Uganda People's Congress, and in any case, some of them, had it not been for UPC, they would not have been known beyond their home districts. So really, we just need to sort out the mess of the military dictatorship and build foundation for the future. And in any case, many young Ugandans are coming and joining Uganda People's Congress in droves. Let them join Uganda People's Congress. For these guys, as I said, because of the foundation in terms of their numbers, they've got good names like my friend Ibrahim, and that gives them goodwill for starters. But really, because of the timing for elections, I'm not quite sure how much they can do, and I don't know if they can do as much as being suggested by Charles, really because of logistics and time. But also, I think, because of the profilation of political opposition at the moment, the messaging that these guys will be bringing, which is different from FDC, where some people had already gone quite emotively, and where some of these members of these organizations don't know the truth between who's saying the truth, the truth between Amuriat, Besige, Mafabi, and others. That can be very confusing. And then you live down there, and this morning again I met a producer of a media network who really wants change, and without prejudice, this person is from not far away from Museveni's farm in Rwachitura. But they really, really want change, but the issue is, whom do we go to? So now, PFF, is it FDC, is it NUP, is it DP, is it A&T, for whom Mugisha Muntu's name and persona gives them real age, or is it the grand old party, Uganda People's Congress, which is the political party of the future? It becomes then very confusing for our voters. And so they're fishing there within this time period where leaders are not having the critical debate in which we're able to dissect issues, to dissect values, to persuade people on the basis of the representative ideology that we represent. In any case, PFF, final point, where are they ideologically linked? If they continue to be linked to conservatism, how does that relate with the most urgent things at the moment? Okay. Which space do they pick? Do they eat space from the DP, the conservative political organization, or NRA, which does not have an ideological leaning, or NUP, which at the moment is seemingly presenting itself as a political party of the left? But you can see that's how confusing our politics is. Yes.
We shall end this conversation with your question. Thank you, Mr. Joseph Ochieno. Thank you, Mr. Kazooba Charles. And of course, thank you, our viewer, for tuning in. From the time we started up to now, 2 hours of non-stop information and analysis of what is happening in Uganda. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. I'll see you again tomorrow, or in fact next week, for the Hotline Show. We will be returning at exactly 7 p.m. We are always here every Monday from 7 to 9. My name is Edgar. Lillian was on camera, and Mr. Alibawa is always in the production to make sure that you get this live feed. Don't forget to subscribe at The Alternative Uganda and at Digitalk TV. That is on Facebook, YouTube, and X. See you again, same time, same station. Good evening, Uganda.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.